Hey everyone, welcome
Hello.
to another episode of Let's Talk the Winchesters. Today, episode 7. My name is Maria, and last week I was a little bit confused because I wasn't sure if we were talking about episode 6 or 7. So last time was 6, this time is 7. We have the mid-season finale, and with me, of course, is Carla from Carla Astrology, and we're going to talk about this. So let's get right into it. Or before we get into it, if you had to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
7.
Really? I wouldn't go any higher than 5.
Well,
You're more generous than I am.
I am. I'm nicer than you are, I think.
Yeah, shame on me.
I know, right?
I can live with that. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Part of me is nice, the other half, oh well.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we've got the mid-season finale, and the episode is titled Reflections. Um, And right off the bat, we get Dean's narration, and he says, comes a time in every hunt when the fighting starts, and the difference between winning and losing isn't whether you have the holy water, the wooden stakes, or the silver bullet. It's whether you got the grip to get the job done. And with the grip, of course, he means that you need to have your emotions under control. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't have any emotions when you go into the hunt because that's just going to mess you up.
Yep.
And so the first thing we see is John and Mary are sneaking up on that radio station where they figured out that this must be where Roxy is broadcasting her show from to find the Akrita. And right there, I had my first moment of, oh my God, really? They're using walkie-talkies.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are not exactly quiet. You know,
Right.
Mary is sneaking around the building. The windows are kind of broken. So whoever is in that house, warehouse, barn, whatever that is, they could hear that if someone was using a walkie-talkie. So why don't you just announce yourself with a flare gun and be like, "Hey, we're sneaking up on you." So, I mean, really, that was already like okay, because Sam and Dean, when they were like sneaking up on someone, and like they would use like military hand signals, like stop or move ahead or you go that way. Something they didn't need to talk. And now
Right.
they're using walkie-talkies and are doing like big speeches and everything. It's like that's for emergencies. Oh well. So the gang, in the meantime, is trying to figure out more about the box. And Ada comes back, and she is bringing some more files from the Men of Letters that apparently her son Tony, I think it was, had put together. So that's good. We get some more info, and but it seems to be written in some type of shorthand or stenography, so they can't really read it. But John identifies the writing as his dad's handwriting, and so he brings in someone to help his mom because she is basically the expert on her husband's how did she call it, chicken scratch. And so, oh, we have someone here. Ultraviolet Pixie. Hi, hello. Uh, Sam and Dean do dumb stuff, though. Yes, they do. I'm not saying they're perfect.
Mhm.
Like the number of times Dean turned his back on the wrong person who was quite frankly acting sus. I don't know what that word is, but yeah, they didn't always do it. But at least they didn't use walkie talkies or anything like that.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So where was I? And then Ada, she gives us a little bit more into the whole how the Men of Letters work with the hierarchy, because the fact that Henry, was taking all these notes in the first place means that he was an initiate. And how did you put it? In order to pay his dues, he had to take notes during meetings and things like that and write everything down. So that's why they are in his handwriting. And when Millie comes into the bunker, for the first time, she also gets a grasp or like an understanding of how serious all of this really is. That Henry wasn't just playing around, that this was something that needed dedication and time, and she now begins to understand the whole scale of what's really going on. And I really like that she didn't run away from this, or that she didn't make fun of it. Like, she got into it right away. She was helping her son and his friends. And in the meantime, there was something like a little moment when Ada was talking about when she checked out different things. And one of the places she went to had a watchdog, which was a werewolf. And I don't know if you caught that, but suddenly Lata was making a face when Ada said that she killed the werewolf. So I'm guessing there was a little hint to what might have been going on with her family. Maybe someone in her family is, as we have already suspected,
Right.
monster, maybe even werewolves. So that face, the fact that they were showing us a close-up of that, that's gotta mean something.
Yeah.
So then, John and Mary, while they were still out at the radio tower, they find someone locked in a car, a possessed man who has one of the Akrita kind of in him. And he gives them a message from the Akrita saying that they now have everything they need for the queen. And then he's like, long live the queen, dead.
Yeah.
Ultraviolet Pixie says, missed the werewolf part, I need to rewatch. Yeah, that was a very brief moment. Yeah, I definitely think Ata's family is monsters. Yeah, I think that would make the most sense at this point with her secrecy and saying that they're dead, because maybe they're just dead but not dead. So
right. Yep.
So, yeah. So then we see Roxy in some kind of lab, and she has a scientist who's now working on some magic potion that they're trying to put together, and she's telling him to work faster because the dig has begun. And something that they found in the radio station place, which had already been trashed, was the bag of her father, Samuel. And when she was looking through that, she found a key to a motel. And she and Carlos went to check it out. And on their way back from it, they didn't even show us that scene because there was nothing to be found. But when they went back to the bunker, they were stopped by Roxy and one of her minions. And it turns out that Roxy wants to make a trade. She wants to trade the box for Samuel. And she gives them a time frame, like let's meet again at 10 p.m. And after a while of like doing all their things, like we also learned that Carlos, he got into hunting because his parents apparently have been killed by ghouls. And so he then was hunting ghouls, and he says that he killed all but 2. And eventually, he's planning on getting the rest of them as well. So now we know that Carlos's family has also been killed, and there's some, like, this is how he got into hunting. And Ultraviolet said werewolf would make sense because we've seen with Garth, the good werewolf community, maybe Lata's family started it. Yeah. I mean, that would even be interesting to see if Lata's family is still in India, because I think she mentioned something about the time difference of when she was calling or something. I don't remember quite what she said. Or if they are in fact in the same country. So we'll see. I hope they really clear this up all in season 1.
I know, me too.
Yeah. In the bunker, Ada and Millie are bonding, which I thought was a really cute moment in the what do we call that room? Like where the magic potion herbs room, whatever that was. And so they're exchanging stories about John back in the day, not John, Henry back in the days, and also comparing their experiences as mothers with their sons. And I thought that was a really, really cool moment. And I really like that Millie doesn't seem to be like jealous of Ada just because she has experiences with Henry that she doesn't have, and she never suspected that there is anything going on. I think it's just for her, maybe hard to hear that Ada knows a part of her husband that she never had access to. And I guess there's this feeling of maybe missing out, but not in a, oh my God, I'm so jealous of you kind of way. So I really like Millie's state of emotions, state of mind and everything. She's really cool.
Yeah.
So then going through all of these notes, Lata finds out that the box is actually a portal that transports monsters to a different place. Later they found out to a different universe. And meanwhile, the worker bees of the Akrita, they are digging in some like underground tunnel basement kind of area looking for something. And turns out they're looking for a specific door. And behind a wall, eventually they find it. And in the midst of all of this, like there's the spirit of we're so close to the end, we're going to defeat them and everything. And then Carlos, he's like, well, as soon as we're done with this, Mary's leaving and the whole gang is going to break apart and everything is going to be different. And so he's already hit with the reality of something will come after this. And he doesn't really want to lose his family because since his parents are dead, I'm guessing this is the closest thing he has to family. And so here we have a sadness moment from him. And then going through the notes, Millie then finds an interesting entry in Henry's notebook about instructions for a seance. And so they get the idea of like, instead of going through all of these notes, which is just going to cost a lot of time, why not talk to the source of them directly? So let's just call Henry. What they need is a personal object. And my initial thought, I don't know about you, but my thought was John. John would be the perfect object because, I mean, he's the creation of Millie and Henry, so he could have been the anchor point, but no, he got a music box that also gave us a little bit of a backstory of his anger issues and why he felt a certain way. And so they do the ritual, initially thinking it doesn't work, but then when John and Mary are having a little moment where they talk about his hurt, how he felt when his father left, and betrayal, and all of that. And suddenly, Henry shows up, and what I was really happy about is that it was the original actor from Supernatural in season 8 who portrayed Henry. I don't know the name of the actor, but it definitely was that one. And that I thought that was a really good choice that they didn't recast that, even though we could only see him for 5 seconds. And I wish they would have given us a little bit more with him so that we could actually hear him talk about some of these things that he had put together. But instead, it's just like, hey, here I am. Cut to the next scene. This is what he said. Like, the way that this episode has been put together leaves a lot of disappointment for me. Like the really juicy parts we didn't even get.
I know.
So Ultraviolet Pixie says, get that John Henry name mix-up thing too. Used to John being the dad. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Same.
Yeah. And then also, while John is like, I was just thinking when he was talking, sitting there about how hurt he was with everything and that he thought as a kid, if he would have done better, if he would have been a better kid and everything, then maybe his dad wouldn't have left. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you know all this, you have these feelings, and yet you turn into a shitty father, even though you know all of this, you have experienced all of this, and yet you abandon your kids and leave them thinking the same thing, especially Dean. Maybe Sam, not so much. I think Sam has always been able to find his own path way earlier. But Dean was also like, it was just the soldier, the drone, the worker bee kind of thing. And he's like, yeah, maybe if I would have done a better job, maybe things would have been different. And that is just always heartbreaking for me. Like they know it. Even Mary with her realizations, like, oh, this is not your fault and this and that and everything. why did they turn out to be such shitty parents? This is really just a show that shows us why they shouldn't have had kids in the first place. You know,
Yeah.
this-
Yeah. I remember what you had said. I think you had been reading something, an article that was talking about that this show was touching on the whole topic of
mental
mental health.
health. Yeah.
It's like I can see it so far.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So then the gang goes to the Akrita because they then have figured out with a locator spell where they are. And they split up, and Mary and John eventually run into Roxy after a bit of fighting and all that stuff. And they use the box, capture some of them, and send them through the portal. But there's still one of those thingies left over. And then it calls, and others come. And so Mary and John are hiding in a room that doesn't have any other exits or windows. And then we suddenly get what we've been waiting for an entire season so far, the first kiss.
Yeah.
Which is then interrupted by Daddy Dearest because suddenly the door opens and the monsters are trying to come in. Someone is using the box, blasting all of these monsters, sucking them in, Ghostbuster style. And left is Samuel. He's a bit beaten up. And so now we see Tom Welling as Samuel, and we also only get him for like 5 seconds. So both of the fathers have been in this episode now. We have seen them, but yeah, it was way too quick. I wanted more. I wanted a few more sentences. I wanted something. Like, this was just way too quick. I don't know who was in charge of this episode, but it feels like it was a different director, different person in charge compared to other episodes, because I know they change directors. It's not always the same person for every episode. So yeah, it's our last night on Earth. Yeah, but the sentiment, like, hey, before we die, let's at least kiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's I mean, yeah, it's kind of cliche, but if it wouldn't have happened right then, like, I would have been disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so now Roxy is dead. And one thing that they figured out, Roxy cannot be the queen because the monsters are still there. And then we get, towards the end of the episode, we get the aha moment that one of the other women who was previously seen digging in the tunnels, she is now, she has this suitcase with this potion, the essence of the monsters mixed with something. And she's bringing it to the place where they found the door. And she is opening up and presenting it. Really, he was the one? I'm disappointed. The Richard Spite, I think, is that how you pronounce it? That's the actor who plays Gabriel. So if he was directing, I'm disappointed.
Oh.
So yeah, I know he's been directing a few other Supernatural episodes. But yeah, the trickster directed this one. He tricked me. I feel tricked. Like, I feel tricked out of the good parts. So anyway, yeah, she presents the whole bag, the suitcase with that stuff to the queen. And she says, "We're going to make you strong again. Then you'll bring the others. We can make this world our own, my queen." End credits. And of course, we don't get to see the queen. Why would we? Mid-season finale, gotta leave some for the next part, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah. For me, this was really a 5 at best out of 10 because there were so many moments missing that I feel would have given us a little bit more. Like, I wanted to hear a little bit more from Henry, because what's the point in bringing him back just to show that the ritual worked? Like, give us something. Let him talk.
Yeah.
I would have wanted more. And then, yeah, Samuel, yeah, I get mid-season finale cliffhanger on all of that, but I would have wanted at least like 5 more seconds with him, or like saying something, or I don't know, like a little bit more interaction, or like, "Hey, Dad, this is John," or I don't know, something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was not your favorite episode either. Yeah, I think So far, if I look back on all the episodes, the ones that I liked the best was probably the previous one.
Yeah.
That one was really good. We were finally getting somewhere. And then also some of the moments in like with Carlos and John going through their whole PTSD thing.
Mhm.
Mary's episode, not too much. Like I was more interested in Ada and her son. And yeah, this episode had more questions than answers. Definitely. But I think
Yeah.
that's the point of the mid-season finale, to keep us wanting more and all of that. So
Mhm.
in that Richard has succeeded, but I think it was a little bit too quickly in a way. Like it's like everyone more than the last until this one, which is okay, but not better than the last one. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know. Like as of December 6th, there haven't been any updates of what's going to happen to this show, whether it's going to be canceled or renewed. It's still up in the air. And I read that they're going to be filming until the middle of December for the rest of the episodes. So they should be done, I don't know, maybe next week or something, or maybe even this week. And then they will go into editing for the rest of it, or maybe they're doing this simultaneously. So best guess, we're probably going to have to wait until maybe February, March. Like, I don't think they're going to come back in January right away. I think it usually takes a couple months. So yeah, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
All I can say is I hope that it gets into more explaining like what Samuel's been up to. And then we know that Gabriel's coming, so does he have a part to play in any of this, or
I heard they come back in February. Well, yeah, that's seems to be a typical timeline.
I pulled a card about the gist of this last episode, and we got the Night of Bones again. And so, I mean,
and I mean that card, it's Eileen on the card, and my first, and this might be a really bad thing to say, but my first thought was, okay, if this sums up the episode, then speechless.
yeah,
Because Eileen couldn't talk, and this was my first connection. I'm just speechless. I don't really know what to say with this. Even with this whole series, like so far, I think I would like the show better without Mary and John, even though they are the main characters. I like the other three characters a lot better.
Oh, I do too.
They have more flavor to them. They are more interesting. They I don't know, Mary and John to me are very two-dimensional in a way. Like they have this one thing going for them. They're like really hurt. They have these bad childhood thingies. And they kind of wallow in their pain all the time, and that's about it. But the other characters, like Carlos, for example, he has had this thing with his family. He has the guilt thing as well. He's been to war as well, like John, but he's doing something about it. He's doing the therapy thing. He has his own way of dealing with things. He was off the grid. So there's like a well-rounded character who's trying to find his way in life, whereas other ones just like, oh, my life is shit. That's just how it is. This is the cards I've been dealt, whatever. And like Lata, whatever her family situation is, she's doing something. Like even though she's keeping that part a secret, but she's doing something. And even Ada working with the men of letters or for them, whatever. Like I still want to know what that connection is and how women in the men of letters kind of factor in. Because something that I read, and that to me is kind of like, like with this show, they're trying to correct some of the non-diversity that they had in Supernatural, which I think is like, what? They did have diversity. They had strong women. They had all kinds of colors and ethnicities in that show. What do we need to correct? I mean, I'm sorry. this is just like, so maybe that explains why Ada is a woman, and instead of that originally might have been a man playing that role.
Could be.
So yeah, and I lost my thought. I don't know where I was going.
No, but I think that Carlos, the actor that plays Carlos, is a good actor. I think
Oh,
that the
yes.
actress that plays Millie is a good actress. I think
Yes.
that the actress that plays Ada is a good actress.
Yeah.
In Lata, but I feel like that is making a difference. Not to say anybody's a bad actor or actress, but I think that that's making a difference in how I see those characters too.
Yes. Because it's those very small nuances, like a look on the face, like when someone says something and the other person is reacting, and you can read so much on a face. And I think Mary and John are just bland. Like there's nothing. There's no. It doesn't really tell me anything. Like there's no secret that I want to discover. Like everything about them is out in the open. There's nothing left.
Yeah,
and
because the facial expressions are important. You know, when they are, so mustering that feeling to play that. Yeah, I like.
Want to feel that way.
Yep.
So yeah, I wish that they were more dimensional, like, but they're not. But on the other hand, we already know from Supernatural that there wasn't really too much to them. That the whole hype of John and Mary, the Romeo and Juliet of Supernatural, weren't really all that. It was all basically just in their heads, because we know that John really put Mary on a pedestal after she died. Then suddenly she became the perfect wife, even though they didn't have a perfect relationship before she died. And
maybe they're doing that on purpose. Then maybe they're like leaving them kind of blank just because there's no, how can you remember something that you weren't there to remember?
Yeah. And also one of my big questions, and I really hope they give a good answer for that, is when is this whole thing with Dean happening? Why is he writing it in the first place?
Yeah.
And also, where is Sam?
Yeah, I asked the cards, what to expect.
It's anybody's guess.
Yeah, exactly.
The fools. Yeah. So maybe we can expect both of them at the end of this for 5 seconds, maybe.
That would be great, just to see.
So, yeah. So, like one of my theories was that Dean is just killing time in heaven until Sam gets there.
Right.
But on the other hand, kind of the way that we saw it in the last episode, he was just going for a ride for a little while, and then suddenly Sam was there, because time on the other side doesn't exist.
Right.
So even though Sam was living an entire life with family, kid, and everything, it went probably by like this for Dean on the other side. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I hope it gets better. I really hope so.
I do too.
And yeah, like now I wish I could like look at everything that has been cut out, because I know that they usually film a lot more, and that in the editing room scenes are usually cut a lot shorter than they originally were thought to be. So I'm wondering if they were cutting off some of the stuff with Henry. Like that's the one that's the biggest disappointment of this episode for me. The whole thing about Henry.
Yeah. So what do you think then, Maria, with like what you would drop that tidbit about, you thought they were centering this around like mental health? Are you seeing something?
Yeah, I'm seeing how this is with Mary and John, like their childhood and all this trauma that they had to experience. I mean, we saw Mary, her younger self, when she was 5 years old, being told by her family, well, one day you got to kill the monsters. And of course that's going to mess someone up, like for real. And then the whole, well, John losing his dad when he was 5 and thinking it's his fault, like the usual thing that we know from children when the parents get divorced and the children think, oh, it's my fault because I haven't been good enough. Maybe I was too loud or too, like, I didn't clean my room often enough or something. So putting all that guilt on them. And yeah, but this is really just showing us, okay, they have these problems, but the show can't really do anything with it because it is established in Supernatural that John never did really get better in this whole thing. Like, he was ignoring his problems, shoving it to the side, and then when something tragic happened, he just went completely like tunnel vision. And this is like, he didn't take care of his children. He didn't do a better job than his dad. Well, it's not his dad's fault that he's not there. That's the other thing. And even in his lifetime, John will never know about it because Sam and Dean found out long after John was dead what really happened.
So maybe that's what they're trying to show then. I was just thinking about it with, if they're trying to show something with mental health, because everybody can say, well, you know, I had this childhood and it shaped me this way. But maybe mental health is not being able to take those lessons into consideration, because like you said, he still becomes a shitty dad. So he was not able to, for some reason, learn from that. And he's still, you know, so maybe that's, I wonder if they're going there with, like, you know, just because, like a healthy person, just because they might have a bad childhood, they don't let that affect them. And they obviously did. So maybe that's I'm just curious. I wonder.
I can see it as like advocating for getting help, like,
or
make sure you don't turn out this way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I was confused because Henry was not dead. Well, at that point in time, Henry has already been missing for 15 years, and in his own time frame, like, he left his time and jumped into the future with Sam and Dean 15 years ago from where we are right now in 1958, and he died in the future. So in his timeline, he died, I think, like 2 or 3 days after he time jumped. So at this point, when they do the seance, he is actually dead in the timeline, even though he is in the future, but he's dead, basically. Yeah, knowing that Jensen is behind it, this doesn't make me feel that Jensen has a story that, does make me feel that Jensen has a story he wants to tell, considering he had no say in the finale. Yeah, I'm wondering a little bit sometimes about the real motivation behind this. In a way, I think hearing some interviews and reading some stuff, it was also part of it, maybe not wanting to let go of this whole thing, because the fandom is so supportive, and once you're in that for 15, 16 years, I can imagine that it must be very hard to let go of that, even though he has other stuff that he's doing. But like, almost half of his life he spent with that character, and so I can understand why it would be hard to say goodbye.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't exist in that time frame, Henry. Yeah, because that's like, that would have to be explained with quantum physics, probably, how this works when someone jumps into the future, and then when are they really considered dead, when they die in the future but not in the past. And so, but for me, the way that my brain makes sense of it is, yeah, he left in 1958 and he died a couple days later, regardless of where or when he was. So in 1972, he was dead, basically. Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting to see how, you know, what's going on outside of it, the whole the people involved in the making of it. And then you see, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then you're seeing some of what, you know, how they feel is being put into what we're watching on the screen.
Yeah. I'm still at this point where I'm gonna say I wouldn't be terribly upset if this didn't get picked up for a second season. Because Mary and
Yeah.
John are just boring. I'm over this whole, like, I get it. Yes, they had a bad childhood. They didn't have the parents that they wanted, but do we have to hear that? Like, don't they have anything else in their lives? Like, this is like that's all they are. This is their identity. And I would
Mhm.
much rather just have them go off, have their family, and watch the other three continue with the hunting stuff. Like, they are the more interesting characters. And if a show has more interesting supportive roles than main cast, I think there's a problem.
Yeah, the leading character's got to be dynamic, and
Yeah.
you know,
And
no Sam and
yeah,
Dean, like you said last time. It's just not Sam and Dean. You know.
yeah. So
I
I
mean,
hope when they give out awards for best supporting characters in a TV show, I hope that the three of them are definitely going to, especially Carlos. I wish for that actor to win an award for this role
yeah.
in some kind of TV award, whatever they do in America. But he deserves it.
Hmm.
He deserves it. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's cute as heck.
Yeah. And like this one scene when they were stopped by the police officer and Roxy, and he's like, "Don't touch that. That's polyester. That's expensive polyester. You just, no, don't touch that." It's
Yeah.
just like, yeah. Well, you know, Family Ties was originally about the parents. Yeah.
Mm.
Like, I really don't see too much of a reason for this show still, even though they get into the whole mental health thing. But at this point, they can just wrap it up. They can just like,
Yeah.
because we would still have to find an explanation of how they would go from here to the John Winchester we got to know in Supernatural, who doesn't know anything about hunting. And yeah, so it's
Yeah.
no.
Hell, I would. What there were 13 seasons altogether
Of
of
Supernatural,
Supernatural?
15.
15. Well, see, I would have still been waiting for 16. You know,
Yeah,
I'm. You know,
I recently read something that they might consider possibly in the future, maybe being ready to jump into those characters again. They didn't completely rule it out, but well, who knows?
yeah, like what happens on the other side.
Yeah.
No, I really liked. Oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart, but the Savior.
Bobby,
What's his name? No,
Jack,
Jack.
Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I loved
Yeah.
him. I thought he would have had a good storyline too.
Yeah. But he is very hands off, I think, as opposed to Chuck, who was like pulling the strings and everything. So yeah, the young John, he was a very different character. And I still don't know how they're going to combine those things, or if Jensen is really going off script and being like, no, this is the dad that makes more sense, so we're gonna go with this story now. So screw the whole thing.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because I mean, in heaven there wouldn't be anything to do because Jack, he just fixed everything. Everything is good. So I mean, if they came back, I don't know what kind of story they would have to tell because they're not going to come back to life because they finally deserve their happily ever after in heaven. But to also think that it's just going to be the brothers and they're not going to have any love for all of eternity except each other, that's also kind of sad.
Yeah.
I guess eventually Sam's wife might be with him, his son, but Dean
Right.
is all alone.
Right. You
I
never
don't
know.
know.
I mean, stuff could happen on that realm that, maybe somebody's gonna like, uh-oh, something's happening in the realm. There's a bad guy trying to get into the realm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you never know. I mean, we have learned that even God is not without flaws and
Yeah.
like there's
Yeah.
still outside forces that might try to come in and do stuff like the Akrita, who want to
Yeah.
take over.
Yeah, there you go.
So
The Accretor trying to get it happen. I'm just making
Dean has
jokes.
Cass. No, actually, he doesn't have Cass because Cass is in the void. Cass
That's
is
what
in the
they
void.
gotta. Yeah, they gotta
He
address the
got
void.
sucked into that thing, and he's in the void. Oh my god, he paid a price for something, I think. And they had this big teary goodbye moment, and all of that. So yeah, unfortunately, Cass is not there unless Jack manages to get him out, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So
I would watch Jack and Castiel.
did he? Cass got out and health fixed heaven? They have drama in heaven that messes everything up, really. If they have drama, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what happened, and that's why they got to go back and do everything.
yeah. Because we don't even have the multiverse anymore because Chuck has destroyed everything except for Earth 1.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh,
There's just so many questions. So many questions.
yeah.
And I don't know if we will ever find the answers. I just really hope that the remaining 6 episodes are going to give us something good, that there's going to be some character development. And of course, in the next episode, we're going to get Loki. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that. I hope they're going to bring back some other characters as well.
I just thought of
'Cause
something.
what?
They could do a series on as they're waiting for everybody to see who shows up and be like, holy shit, you made it to heaven. High five. Like it's Crowley. Crowley's in heaven. Like
Yeah,
and have
he
that all
can't
the
be
people.
either. Like he killed himself in Apocalypse World with an angel blade, so he's gone. He's also in the void, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe there's those
Hmm.
they could create a whole storyline around that. Just who's getting out of the void.
Yeah. And Lucifer, he's gone, but yeah, he was. How did Lucifer? Michael? No, Jack. Who killed him?
I think
Michael.
it might have been.
Oh my God. I remember the scene in the bunker where they were standing around the table and trying to read the book from death about God's story and how it ends, and trying to open it up and everything. And I know that Michael and Lucifer were pretending to work together, and then one stabbed the other one in the back and kind of like, yeah, it was a thing.
Yeah.
So much family drama. It
I know.
really could be a soap opera. That's what I really like. One of my favorite episodes is the one where the trickster puts them into TV land.
Oh my goodness, I know,
That
right?
is just, yeah. And
That's so
Sam
wonderful.
as the car from Knight Rider. Should I
Oh,
honk?
yeah.
Yeah.
They were creative. I loved it.
Season 15 can all be a dream or a trick or something. Yeah, I'm sure they could spin stuff around and yeah. I just hope they bring this one to a good end. Give us the explanations we want and then
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. And done. Yes, absolutely.
I enjoy watching Jensen in The Boys. I hope he comes back there. I enjoy him in Big Sky. And I enjoyed Walker with Jarrett. I think that one is canceled now too. So yeah, but they do other stuff and they do it well, even separately. So yeah.
Oh
That
yeah.
works.
Oh, I love them both. Yeah.
So yeah, now we're gonna have to wait a few months and then yeah, Sam wakes up and he's like, I dreamt her whole life was a story written by God. Like weird all universe we're jumped into. Yeah. Oh God, some of my favorite stuff from the last few episodes was when they got Sam and Dean from this other world into the bunker to stand in for them. And one of them had like the men bun and they had the scarf, they were drinking beer, they had Hunter Corp and all that. Those two characters. like that Sam trying to drink the beer and be like and then when our like Earth 1 Sam told the other Sam like you're gonna have to lose the man bun
Yeah.
Like the audacity.
Yeah.
And then when original Sam and Dean came back and they're like, yeah, we took baby for a spin, and Dean was ready to just kick their asses. That was just, yeah, that was
Yeah,
gold. That was true
definitely.
supernatural gold.
Yeah.
I enjoy that sense. I need a little bit more humor
Oh my
in,
gosh.
even with everything going on, even with apocalypse or anything. I remember the earlier seasons of Supernatural having way more humor in them.
Oh yeah.
And towards the end, it got a little more, but that's also because the writers changed, Kripke left, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there were still humorous moments, no doubt, but there was more in the beginning, like a lot more, like back and forth between the brothers and stuff. And yeah, of course, they grew up and got a little bit older and everything, but I still wish for a little bit more of that humor, not everything so doom and gloom and oh, daddy issues here, daddy issues there. You know, too much daddy issues.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, so we're just gonna wrap it up at this point, and yeah, we would love to have you with us again for episode 8 when we continue in the chat or in the comment section for the replay. Let us know what you think about this series so far. Do you want it to continue in season 2? Are you okay if it's being canceled? You know, so give us your thoughts, and we will see you next time. Until then, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.